Welcome back to another episode of NFT Catcher Podcast. We'd like to remind everybody that nothing on the show is meant as financial advice, and to please do your own research. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Now the subject is NFTs.
They're known as non-fungible tokens, or NFTs.
NFTs are exploding in popularity.
This is a technology that will forever change the way people interact.
So it is happening whether you understand it and like it or not.
This phenomenon is moving. The digital.
You have now joined Jenny from the blockchain and Michael Keene on the NFT Catcher Podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the NFT Catcher Podcast. I am here with very special guest, Brooke Lacey, who I'm excited to get into it with. And we were just talking before, and I know she's got some really interesting stuff to talk about. It's funny how we met at VCon briefly, and our mutual friend VGF gave you the stamp of approval. So I always kind of knew in the back of my head that you were whenever he says somebody's cool, that I know they are. And then I heard you on Spaces a lot in the last few months.
Well, I was on Clubhouse too. It was just so long ago that
I know. We probably were crossing
years.
paths. We probably were crossing paths then, but
For sure.
I'm not sure. But then I started hearing you on Spaces, and I really liked your take on a lot of things and your perspective.
Awesome.
I invited you on. I was super happy when you wanted to do it, and so if you don't mind, tell people a little bit about yourself, what you do, and then let's get into like how your NFT journey started.
Yeah. I love that you brought up the VGF thing. Now I'm like really remembering. He's just such
it was at the Pixel Vault. Remember that?
Yes.
In that club area. Yep.
Yeah. He's really just such a gem of a human. And I guarantee he's going to listen to this. We're really just kindred spirits for sure. We spent a lot of time in Miami together. So yeah, I love that.
It's awesome.
This ecosystem, this whole thing is so much about integrity and reputation that being able to like know, hey, I trust this person, and I trust what they're telling me. It's a big deal. So I take that very seriously. So I really am a technologist. That is it. For the better part of the last 30 years, I have been in technology. I started my college education in 1995, computer science. I just wanted all in on it. I was ready. And I've had a love affair with technology for my entire adult life. And, I kind of run the gamut. I worked in corporate in 2010. I quit and started my own business and kind of did the tech entrepreneur thing for the last 12 years. Had a computer repair business in 2010. It was one of the best things that I ever did. It was scary to leave a corporate job, but that's kind of the path that I've taken is I did the work and then I managed the people doing the work and then I consulted high level. And that's kind of where I am now is, for me, it's not really a separation between like Web3 and Web2. Like I'm a technology consultant. So this was a very natural progression for me. And I've been in crypto for a long time, which means something different to everyone. But that is a very interesting story. If you've heard me tell that story, that in 2010, we were mining Bitcoin to purchase things off Silk Road. And I'm proud of that fact, but I think sometimes I shy away from that because everyone's like, what were you buying on Silk Road?
That's what I was going to ask.
Just use your imagination. Actually, I'm very open about it. Because I think people need to, I'm just so big on like the history of technology and blockchain. So, because we say like, when did you get into NFTs? Like, well, what does that really mean? For me, Web3 is just kind of a word that people have decided to use like to describe a group or this like ecosystem, even though it's actually a technology. Like Web3 is just the third iteration of the internet. So I think it boils down to, not to get into like the whole thing, but in 2008, I'm old enough to have been affected by the 2008 financial crisis and, crash and all of that. I know a lot of people were.
Yeah. We're the same age. Andy and I went to college, 96, 97.
Okay. So, perfect. Then, I was always fine because I was in tech. I had a, well-paying job and didn't necessarily have any issues with how, with my mortgage. But I had so many friends and family that were affected by it. And it was just like this nightmare. And being in technology, and of course, we'd always heard about people talk about, digital cash and, and changing the banking system. That's just what you do when you're a disruptor and you love technology. So to be honest, like the free market, to be able to like buy and sell things. And now we can talk about like things like psilocybin and, MDMA, because they are in, third trial, trials for the FDA approval or whatever.
Yep.
Like they're being tested. So these aren't like these super crazy illicit drugs that, are.
No, not at all. You don't even have to caveat it. You don't even have to caveat it. Those
Right.
things are,
Sometimes I feel like I have to censor it. And then I'm like, wait a minute. No, we were doing a service to people, or providing a service to people, because they weren't able to get mushrooms and acid and that type of LSD from reputable places. And so we were like, this is the coolest thing ever, to be able to like use this as a marketplace, know what you're buying, know who you're buying from. So us mining Bitcoin was simply, and they weren't like giant, warehouses full of graphics cards. It was literally like the computer on the floor right here with a couple of graphics cards. We were definitely paying more, for electricity than we were what they were worth. So even though that was only 10 years ago, 11 years ago, it was so different. It was not mining to, create generational wealth. We were mining so that we could buy drugs on Silk Road and distribute them in Idaho. So it was part of like like my ex-husband and these two guys. And so the wildest part of the story is that there was about 700 or 800 Bitcoin. Of course, they were worth 50 cents then. But we didn't really look at it as the cash equivalent. It was how much is this going to get us from buying this product?
Right, because you were mining it basically out of thin air, but you had to pay the electricity. Right.
And it's not thin air. That's what I was explaining to my son.
Okay.
It's the exchange of electricity for something that you can manage, essentially. There's no creating or destroying, because a lot of people have said that to me, like, oh, you made all this money out of thin air. It's like, well, but let's talk about proof of work. But I digress. When the FBI seized Silk Road, we had about 700, and it wasn't the same as, the wallets today and cloud storage and all that. They were on platter hard drives, and they were actually, you had to transfer them into Silk Road. Then create, like you had to deal with it on their site. So we didn't have control of it. And when the FBI seized Silk Road, so did those. They went. So a lot of the guys that we were doing that with have like full on PTSD, and they won't, because they'll just do the math. Like, oh, where would we be today with 700 Bitcoin? I just don't look at it that way.
No, and you would have sold it somewhere along the way, nobody.
And we had more and sold it, at $3,000 a pop or whatever. And it was the right decision at the time. So.
Yeah, of course. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's a pretty crazy story. I didn't see. So you got into crypto for that reason. And then did you stick with it, or did you have like a dark period where you left?
Well, then we got caught in Mt. Gox. So we had, I still have, I don't talk about it a lot, but I have we have ancient Bitcoin. So there's still some on a Trezor hard drive, hard wallet that was transferred from a Platter hard drive to a Trezor in 2014. It's not very much, but it's sort of not accessible without multiple signatures. And we have like legal agreements for it all. But before all that, we had it in Mt. Gox. There was even some stuff with Quadriga. And so there's a lot of it was just lost. I was talking about this earlier, I'm truly a disruptive technologist. Like I just love to throw stuff at the wall and see what happens. Like building things and, just to like see what happens. Yeah. So for me, the value of it wasn't necessarily like, oh my God, we could have been a billionaire. Well, no, because the value to me is different than I think what other people think about that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. That's so you are a straight OG. I mean, you were doing it from the very beginning. And then when did you learn about like Ethereum? When did that cross your?
Well, I mean, in the blockchain world, you're just kind of always learning about these things. So, I mean, when it happened, like
Right.
I
Okay.
don't know, it's
So
in
you
like
were
the peripheral, right?
Right. Because you don't know it's the one that's going to win. You know.
Exactly.
Right. There's a million of them. Even like right now, there's a million of them going on.
Right.
One of them's probably going to crush it, but we don't know which one.
Right. And
Right.
you know, I'm not a trader, I'm not an
Mhm.
investor. Like, you know, for me, the money comes from, you know, the services or the, you know, the
Okay.
technology, the consulting, all of that. Knowing the technology, for me, that's like I'm creating the picks and the shovels and the, you know, the sifting pans for the gold rush.
Mhm.
And that's for me, that's where the money is. So when Ethereum came around, it was sort of like, these are just sort of in the peripheral, like, oh, that thing's happening. Oh, this thing's happening. It's just like any other technology for me. It was like, oh, cloud storage is happening. I've been really passionate about understanding, you know, cybersecurity. So when ransomware came around, that was really interesting to me. So it all kind of went into one bucket. It wasn't like, oh, now we have Ethereum, so there's going to be these things called NFTs, and I'm going to buy it just didn't work like that. Now is like, I mean, I was in those clubhouse rooms. I was given a free ape and I was like, I don't even care about this. What the fuck is this? And I've been, like you said, an OG. So there was a lot of people that were like, this is dumb. Like,
I know. I remember. Oh yeah, no, that was half the community. I don't like the art. This isn't art. Like, yeah,
right.
No, totally. I remember that very well. Yeah.
So I think again, it just has always been about the tech for me, and the fact that like we meaning technologists and sort of crypto enthusiasts or blockchain, however we want to put that, it was like, it wasn't cool until NFTs came along. And I'm one that's like, hey, however, I've been an educator for a long time. Like I've always tried to teach girls to get into tech. I would do like workshops with them to teach them about computer hardware. And so I'm a hardware maxi. Like I love building computers. It's like Legos. And if you can't make it cool for the people you're teaching, then you're not going to teach them anything. Why would they? So as soon as somebody started putting JPEGs on the blockchain, it was like, oh, now I have this use case that I can go and like tell people, like, look how cool this is, you know, provenance and artists, you know, you had a story then, instead of like, what is this coin that you're doing? Like, what are you doing? And what am I going to tell them about Silk Road? Like, there was really no way of educating people for me, because it's like, oh, are you going to, you know, create some sort of generational wealth? Like, no. But now we've got community, we've got like friendships, and we've got these conferences, and we've got all of these cool things that all base on blockchain technology, which I believe is going to save the world.
Nice. Yeah. Blockchain is that whenever people ask, oh, didn't NFTs crash? Isn't that over? And I always say blockchain is the technology that's really going to push all this forward. That's the main deal about what's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now that's a really good point to make. It a funny story. The first time I heard about Bitcoin, my wife's uncle was buying his son, who was just getting into college, a fake ID, and his son said, "I need half a Bitcoin or something." So he was telling the story. He's like, so and the father's like, he's like well off. He's a construction guy, and he's like, well, I went in, I bought the Bitcoin for him, and then I bought a few more for myself. And he said it like that was like right when it was going up, like a long time ago. I don't even remember when it was, but that's how he learned about it. That's how I learned about it, from that story.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's got their story. I said, the guys that you know, lost all of that when that happened, you know, I'm still friends with a couple of those guys, and they want nothing to do with it. They were like, you know, what are you doing in this? You know, we lost all that money, and it's like, they don't, you know, they want nothing to do with it. So much PTSD, and it's understandable, but like, you can't go back and say, it's just like anything in life. You can't go back and be like, well, what if I had not made this decision to whatever, you know, I would be so much better off. It's the same thing for me. Like, I don't go back and say, oh, if we had just had those 700 Bitcoin, you know, who knows? Like we didn't know, or else we wouldn't have lost them.
Of course. Of course.
So
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to talk about the Bitcoin NFTs for a minute, but then I do want to get back into your story. I want to hear
whatever you want.
kind of the beginning of the NFTs and then like what you're actually doing now. But since we're talking about Bitcoin, and did you say you're building a node? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
is that for the ordinals and for
it got me. Okay. So doing a validator node is different. It's not mining. So there's, you would need an entire warehouse and like solar panels to like actually mine, that. A validator node is like anybody could download it. You could download it on your computer right now. It's just the Bitcoin core. And you essentially download the entire copy of the blockchain, like from 2009, you have a copy of it. And then your computer runs 24/7 to validate the blocks. And so I'd been doing that for a while. It really is just to be a part of the ecosystem. You're not really making a bunch of money like mining. People have done it with an old laptop or a Raspberry Pi. I have a bunch of computer parts because that's what we do. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to throw this together because of the sort of hype and the information that's going on about ordinals. So yes, I am so like head on into this because of the disruptive nature of it, not because I feel like it's going to make a bunch of money. Maybe what I can do is provide this as a service, yet another service that I can provide with my, tech company saying, hey, let's inscribe your ETH NFTs onto Bitcoin. Like, I don't know. It's 2 weeks old, right? Like we don't know. If anybody tells you they're an expert at it, if they're not Casey Rodemar, however you say his last name, then they're not an expert. Like, unless it's Casey, they don't know what they're talking about. So for me, it's a lot of fun. And so I have my main computer over here, my laptop, and then I had all of these other parts. So I ordered a case for it, put some memory in it. It doesn't take much, and spun it up. And it takes about, for me, it took about 14 hours because I'm on fiber internet, and you just kind of go from there. And there's a whole set of instructions. It's all very command line, like very technical. I see a lot of people that are going to get wrecked by this. There's nothing you can do about it because it's being hyped. But it's not difficult to spin up a node. And that's how you inscribe these things onto the Bitcoin blockchain.
Would you suggest doing? No, not as I know. We have a guy in our NFT Catcher Discord, Nufu too, who's been messing with it and writing stories about his experience and telling us. And I've been listening to a lot of the spaces. It's been interesting. Yeah, it's definitely fun. It's interesting. I mean, there will be ones that do really well. I'm sure there'll be ones that crash down. Did you see DGods today? They took 535 previously burned DGods and inscribed them onto Bitcoin.
It's wild. Like it's wild. No, but I'm not surprised. There's going to be so much talk about all of this. People are going to be doing all kinds of crazy things. They're going to FUD it and then do it themselves to be the first there. Like, I'm so obsessed with psychology and like the mindset of like why people do stuff, like who isn't fascinated by that? But it's, I know that's going to happen. Look at what happened today. Did you see Ryan Carson posted that he bought 183 ETH worth of Bitcoin punks and then deleted the tweet? Not sure if you saw that.
I saw his tweet. Yeah, I did see that for 121G or whatever. He deleted that.
Yeah.
He can't keep his foot out of his mouth these days.
He really can't. Yeah. And I'm happy to say that on record.
I thought that to him. Like, if you after your controversy last weekend,
take a break, take a beat. Don't take a beat. Yeah. No.
Especially when it's about your fund and you're trying to raise for this other fund, like crazy.
Right. Yeah, that's a whole another thing. But I definitely see a lot of these people, because I've even gotten messages from, I'm close friends with a lot of founders, and a couple of them are like, what's this node that you're doing? Can you inscribe it? I'm like, I can do whatever the fuck you want. We just have to figure out what that means, like that's always in the back of my head is like, what's the next wave? Like, how can we make this not only secure, but like the best possible experience for people without there being, too much craziness around it. But that's always going to be there. So I think it's really cool. I don't know, everyone's like, are you bullish or bearish on it? Whatever. I'm like, it's 2 weeks old. Like it's 2 weeks old. Like there's no, it's overhyped, but yet completely here to stay. So, take from that, whatever.
Yeah. I like that. I mean, if you have money to play with, take a chance on some stuff.
Exactly.
But don't put your life savings into it. That's kind of right.
It's no different than anything else. Like, please do not inscribe your rent money onto the Bitcoin blockchain.
Exactly.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's the same. Do your own research and don't spend past your means. I mean, it sticks with all the different investments we've been doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. It's been interesting hearing the different takes of Bitcoin people. Some of them are like, I heard this one guy that was so angry, it's going to mess up the blocks and and like, this doesn't make any sense. And then someone called him out and they were like, well, it's like, it's what it was made for. It's able to do it. And he's like, and he's saying like, NFTs are all a scam. And whatever it was. And then he's like, but I don't give a shit about it. And I was like, you're the guy that cares the most. He's like screaming and yelling.
You're doing the most. Yeah. You're saying.
And he's like, I don't give a shit at all. I don't give a fuck. I was like, he was like really angry in one of these Bitcoin spaces. But it's been really interesting watching the back and forth about it.
I agree.
Yeah. So I definitely would be remiss if I didn't learn. Do you suggest if you're going to do a node having like its own computer?
Not necessarily. There's definitely different schools of thought. Like I'm just letting it run. So I use my main computer for a lot of different stuff. So I just don't really want it running in the background. If like updates happen. So I literally just want that to be like doing its own thing. But that's just my personal preference. It depends on your internet speed, whether it throttles, at a certain point. Like I said, I have fiber internet, so it just totally depends on what you're doing. But yeah, anybody can download the Bitcoin Core and start doing this. I mean, it takes some technical finesse. You've got to be able to understand the like command line language and, understand the specific wallet that has to be used. The fact that like, this is still a Satoshi. It's still like a sat. You're just writing on it. That's all you're doing. You're taking this dollar bill that is technically fungible and using a Sharpie, writing on it. And then you're like, oh my God, Brooke J. Lacey wrote on this dollar bill. It's now worth something, even though it's still just a dollar bill. And no one else is going to give a shit other than you. And maybe however many followers I have, I don't know, 300,000 followers. Like those are the people that are going to think that's cool. And that's it. So even though you still have it and it's written on and it's now like worth something, it's still just like any other piece of art, or they're calling them digital artifacts. So they're not really non-fungible tokens. So there's a lot to it. I know what you asked was, should you have its own computer, but
no, that's okay. You're dropping knowledge. I like it. This is fascinating.
It takes a while to download. Somebody else said it took a week to download the Bitcoin Core. So it really just depends. I have it like Ethernet cable into the router kind of thing. So it only took like 10, 11 hours. And now it's like set up, and I don't know. Like, I think what's cool for me is I'm not an artist. I'm truly into the tech. And so I'm just going to take some cool pixel art. Like anybody can make pixel art, open up Photoshop and just kind of like throw some stuff together, because for this I
tried to make it and it was not good. So not anybody. Anybody.
I think the cool thing is that it's the idea of like being early or being, one of the first ones. You could just put on like a couple of splashes of color and be like, because really most people are interested in the scarcity of it. And this idea of like putting derivatives or putting ETH NFTs onto the Bitcoin blockchain to me seems, what's a good word for it? It seems lazy. It seems like bullshit laziness.
Yeah, totally. People putting all the apes on there and all that. Right. Yep.
It's a full-blown grift. And it makes the rest of it seem like delegitimizes it. That's totally not a word, but it like makes it less cool when people are, when they throw up there some random art because of how cool the ordinal process is. Like, it's all number theory. It's just such a cool science that when we start, utilizing this to, flip things and trade, it takes away from the cool, technology of it. And aside from that, though, this is really pushing people to think outside the box. Everyone's kind of rushing to make wallets. They're rushing to create a marketplace. And that to me is the best thing possible with this, is when it's motivating people to like get out there and actually build shit. That to me is the best part of this completely.
Totally. Yeah. Those marketplaces, I've already been like a couple of them liked me, or followed me on Twitter to try and get you to follow them back or whatever.
For sure.
And it's like the first Bitcoin marketplace I keep seeing, those are popping up real quick.
I mean, do your own research, vet the shit out of these things. I'm saying this to your listeners as well. Like,
please do.
Do not just blindly. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then I can picture the scammers moving over from ETH to Bitcoin.
Yes.
And all the phishing and the stuff. Like,
so that all of this all of the purchasing is being done over the counter. So
yes, I do know that.
And a lot of times what we're seeing is like through Google Docs and like literal spreadsheets. And so as comical as that is, and I don't even have words, like that's web zero right there, even though, it's Google Doc, but like it's ridiculous. And as soon as I heard that, it was like, I knew I could just see the scams coming, because here's what happened. I've already gotten 3 in my personal email account that isn't really public, saying like, you've got Bitcoin and blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't actually say anything about ordinals, but it's just coincidental that it happened right then. And it's from Google Docs. So you can go in and create a Google Doc and do a comment to someone's email, and it will go to their email address. It will not get caught in spam filters because it's from Google Docs. And so since this is all being done through that process, it could definitely catch someone and be like, oh, I have Bitcoin now, and it's a total scam. So I went through it and I clicked it, went and put it into a virtual machine just to like see what happens. And it's so blatant. Like, if anybody gets caught by that scam, there's no hope for you in life. That's how bad that scam is. But it just shows that like it's already started 2 weeks in.
Yeah. And they get super sophisticated. We know that.
Very sophisticated.
Yeah.
This is just them trying out shit.
Yeah.
See if people.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's wild.
It's going to get wild. And then the Twitter accounts will start getting hacked and all that stuff.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Yeah. Is there a lot of fraud in Bitcoin as it is? Or
I don't think so.
No, not like this with ETH that we've seen.
I mean, that's a very wide open question. I look at fraud. I'm obsessed with the study of fraud. Like I've watched the Elizabeth Holmes story. I've, the Madoff thing. Like I'm obsessed with the psychology of it. So when we say like, is there more scams in this or this, put anything in those 2 buckets. That's a really hard, way to, but I think a lot of Bitcoin people that are really like believe in that technology do feel like it's less scammy than the altcoin world, which of course they would call shit coins or whatever. I just sit back and watch. But no, I think that the Bitcoin blockchain is definitely on another level than everything else.
Okay.
So
yeah, I haven't dealt much with Bitcoin. I didn't get into crypto until I got into NFTs
Mhm.
in early 2021.
A lot of
believe
you
it or
did.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't at all. And so speaking of getting into NFTs, when did you first start hearing about them? What was your first NFT? What got you going?
I mean, again, that sort of peripheral
Mhm.
situation, like being around for so long, I heard about these crypto punks, the crypto kitties. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought they were all fucking dumb. Like I just was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. And it, for whatever reason, like I'm not Nostradamus. I can't like predict, what things are gonna go a certain direction. So I kind of like knew about them. Um, I I think it was definitely Clubhouse when all that started happening. But there was definitely, in like Reddit threads and just like here and there was just little things. So I think for sure, like all in was Clubhouse early 2021.
Yep.
I think, and I can actually go back. So I have a fairly large TikTok following, which is a whole nother story. I'm actually gonna.
Oh, I got to go find that. I love
Yeah,
TikTok. I love TikTok. That's
somehow
funny.
starting in
Yeah.
2020, like during the quarantine, I
Really?
amassed 300,000 followers on TikTok. I'm sort of
Nice.
funny.
Yeah.
Like people like that. So I remember doing a TikTok video about CryptoKitties, and it was like February or March of 2021. And I can go back to it. It was like, isn't this the dumbest thing ever? And
Right.
here we are, like 2 years later. This is what I do for a living now. So that was part of it. And then I got involved with a couple of people. I don't know if you know the musician Money B from Digital Underground.
I know
They did
Digital Underground. I don't know if I know Money B though.
Yeah. So they had a bunch of collectibles, like physical collectibles. And they're like, oh, we've got to make NFTs out of this. And I'm like, yeah, that totally makes sense. It did not make sense. We actually built the marketplace on Algorand. I don't know if people know that Algorand actually makes a really good NFT marketplace, but it just didn't pick up. I think a lot of the Algorand people were like, we don't want to do this. So that was the first project that I worked on. I find that it was a huge success because the tech worked. It was just everything else that didn't work. So that was kind of my like the beginnings for me. I wasn't really a degen. I didn't really even understood what that meant until I went to Art Basel in December of 2021.
21, yep.
Yeah. And I went there with some friends that, I met through Clubhouse, and it was like, I had never experienced anything like that. I was there for like 10 days. Went to the Doodles party. I went to and I'm not like, I mean, obviously we just talked about the Silk Road thing. Like I love a good party, I had so much fun. It was like being in my teens again. Like it was just such a vibe, like it was just a whole situation.
Yeah.
I
live down here near Miami, and that year was insane. I've actually been going to Art Basel for 15 years.
Yeah.
I was just going randomly down to Wynwood, checking out the art, eating at the restaurants.
You'd have to.
Then,
it's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's a really great scene. But then the NFTs, and I was in NFTs, obviously we had the podcast going, and that was epic for sure.
Yeah.
That was epic.
Yeah. That was the beginning of it. And then so I really love to travel regardless, but from that point until that entire year, every 3 or 4 weeks I was traveling and speaking at different places. So East Denver, just all of the places. So it was a really fun year. It was a really fun year. I worked on the biggest project last year for me was with a movie theater company called Megaplex. So to get into the nuts and bolts, because I know you were going to ask me about what is it that I do in this ecosystem. My company provides, I guess, the consulting, and I bring in, I'm kind of like a general contractor. So I have Solidity devs, I have Rust devs, I have, Algorand devs, people who I can pick and choose from, people who I've vetted. Now I'm, dealing with a lot of the security side of things. So I'm vetting a lot of these white hat hackers. So I kind of bring to the table, 30 years of tech experience, as well as my experience in crypto and tokenization. So I'm really mostly focused on, companies and tokenizing sort of loyalty programs. So with Megaplex, we took their already established loyalty program, just like any other company that already has this database. They're a movie theater company that spans across northern Utah. There's about 19 theaters. And the CEO of the parent company, I don't know if they'd like sold off a bunch of assets or what the deal was, but he just was like all in on crypto. The CEO of like the big parent company. This is a multi-million-dollar, company as it is. And they'd kind of heard me on, I think it was in Twitter Spaces, and really interested in this kind of stuff. So they hired me to come in and run their program. So for about 7 months last year, it went through this process of like how to take their loyalty audience and create an NFT project for them to get all these different perks. So it was a lot to be able to integrate Web3 smart contract technology into their already established Web2 tech stack. So that's kind of like I facilitated that and, brought in the tech and did all of that. What was cool was the NFT holders, when they first came to me, they were like, okay, we're going to get this giant popcorn bucket and NFT holders are going to get this really giant, like, unlimited refillable popcorn bucket. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about. And they were like dead ass, like, no, Brooke, check this out. Moviegoers are crazy. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. I fucking love popcorn. And it was a huge hit. And we were able to, long story TLDR, as they say, we sold out about 75% at a 0.3 ETH price point to people who had never bought an NFT in their life in a very small geographical area of northern Utah. So for me, that was a roaring success. I think a lot of people are like, oh, they didn't sell out. And it's like, right. However, and it was disruptive. Like nobody's really done that before. Yeah. And then the sort of cherry on top was that they went to Warner Brothers to see if they could partner, and the NFT holders got early access to the movie Black Adam. So there was like a red carpet. They all got in. It was just very, very cool. So I'm really big on using this technology to, push things forward, get things, what's in it for the customer, what's in it for your audience. And, the technology is just the mechanism by which that you provide that to them. So that was a really, really cool project that's still going on. We'll see what happens with that. But, I think that's the future of this is tokenization of loyalty programs of, already established audience. That's why I think a kid called Beast is doing well, because they've already had all of this beforehand and they knew how to do it. Raspy is a genius. And I'm not a holder, so I just saying it.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the website. When did you guys drop?
October
20th. Yep.
I think October 20th. Yeah.
Because this type of program is really ahead of its time. I talk a lot about the Starbucks Odyssey.
Yes.
And it's a little bit similar to what they're doing.
Very similar. However, that's like a POAP. That isn't a purchasable
Right. You're right.
token.
It's not. Yeah, not yet. No, they could sell them. You could sell.
Can you?
It's not purchasable, but you could sell it on this. There's a secondary market.
Okay. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You could. They're on Polygon. It is what it is. But it's even so, like what you're doing, I really believe that this is one of the greatest ways to use NFTs to reward people. Yeah. And now, like, if I'm another movie theater, I could know who all those people are and send them something.
Yes.
Just to those wallets. Like,
exactly.
That's what the future is going to be looking like. I love that you're working on that. That's, I thought about that. Like, I dream about it with like when I go into like the grocery store, like they should have an NFT and you get a couple percentage off on everything for having the NFT, and they know everything about you, know your wallet, and those companies can target you. Like, I mean, it's a no brainer.
Yeah. And we were able to do it with, there was no credit card transactions. This was all ETH. Like
Yeah.
That for me was the use case to show like this is the technology and the way that was orchestrated was showing that like people will sign on to this. They will.
If you give the right value,
Yes.
if you give them the right value, they will buy it.
100%.
How did you guys have success bringing those people on? Because especially in Utah, it must, even more like, huh? What are you talking about? Like.
I think there's a lot of different things to attribute to that. That's a really, I haven't really sat and thought about it because it wasn't like just me and it wasn't like,
sure. So
I think the team there at Megaplex had to believe that this was happening because this was kind of like came down from the CEO of the parent company. This wasn't like, oh, these guys at they were like, oh, okay, you want us to do what? And they signed on to it. They were like, okay. Whereas a lot of companies are like, no, because they actually went to a different movie distributor. I'm not going to say the name, who said no. And Warner Brothers was like, fuck yeah, we're doing it. So you've got all these very different perspectives from different companies. So, that was kind of I think it was successful because of the not sign on, the like adoption of the team there and like the head of the company. Otherwise it's just me speaking at a brick wall trying to explain things. So that was definitely why.
And so the people had to like go get their Coinbase account and load it and send it to a MetaMask wallet. Amazing.
All the videos on the Megaplex NFT site are me. I did a couple of like tutorial videos.
I see that. I didn't click play on it, but I see you there.
Yeah.
NFT walkthrough. I love that. I mean, you have to do it. You have to make it easier for people learn different ways. So you can have it written and you have to have a video.
And I really believe that it's about what they were getting. Once they knew that on the other side of this process of like downloading a wallet and this whole, what is this crypto thing? I get a unlimited for 5 years refillable popcorn bucket and access to early releases, all of the cool things that me as a moviegoer want. Let me just get through this hurdle. Whereas I think what gets lost in this sort of degen culture is what is it that happens on the other side of it? And maybe it is trading. Maybe it is making money. I'm all about it. I think we should talk more about money and not, fudding making money. Like I love what money does for my life. So why not talk about that? But let's not all beat around the bush. Like we're not trading things to make money. Like if the project isn't giving you something on the other side, then it better give you money. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I love this. I'm going to look more into it. I mean, that's like, I like how you guys did it, and it's really what the future is going to look like. You're right at the forefront of that. That's really cool.
I agree.
So what else are you working on? Other things like that, or what's going on that you can talk about?
It's so wild that I didn't necessarily see a shift or feel the shift, but there's definitely been a shift in this sort of crypto winter where big sort of companies aren't necessarily they're not like all in on this stuff.
Yep.
So I mean, I do some consulting here and there. I've actually taken this to a couple of other movie theater conglomerates, and we're just kind of like, kicking the wheels on it. The next thing going. Yeah.
Sure. I hear that.
But I decided, like a crazy person in December to go back to school. So I am actually studying cybersecurity management operations at Boise State University. I live in Idaho. And so that was a real like sharp right turn, left turn, right turn, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I started in January, and so I have like 16 credits, and I've been passionate about cybersecurity for a long time. But now with Web3 stuff, it really like kicked that into high gear. And there really is no Web3 cybersecurity. It's all just technology, security.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the direction I'm taking. And hopefully what I can do is integrate that into like the tech consulting, the tech services that my company provides. So that's been really interesting. Today I decrypted some code using some crazy ass like decryption tool, and I just geeked out on it. It was really fun. So
Nice.
I know it's not sexy, but I just like it.
Pretty neat. Are you familiar with Plumferno?
Plum's one of
You
my
know her?
very good friends.
Oh, cool. We had her on, and
Yep.
she was incredible, like just brilliant. And
She's so brilliant.
a lot of the things you talked
she's my
about
Discord
reminded me of
person.
her.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna suggest that's a good
Yep.
move. Good move.
Because I don't do Discord. I literally
Right.
3 years ago or two, whenever it was that we all started this, the only reason I had a Discord was to tell my son from across the house to do the dishes. That's literally it.
Oh
From
I
my
never even heard of
office.
Discord. I never even heard of
didn't- yeah.
Discord before all this.
I thought it was, it's just for gamers, and like he would just
Right.
like watch people play games, and so
Uh-huh.
that's what I thought it was. And then this all blew up, and
Right.
I never integrated like Discord management or whatever into the tech consulting because I had no experience. And then what I found was, and I'm going to plug the shit out of this, because what I found was people were jumping on that ship as well. Like, oh, I'm now a Discord, guru. And I'm like, that's real fucking scary, because that is one of the most vulnerable pieces of software there is. So if you don't have the right, team doing that. So I have vetted as a lot of people. I am so doxxed, like all of those things, right? Like how VGF like signed off on me. I have vetted people, and Plum is the only one. And there's two other, a guy named Mofo, that are the only ones that I would trust. And some of these clients that I have are, like I said, multi-million-dollar companies.
Yeah.
She set up the Megaplex Discord. I wouldn't trust anyone but her and Mofo. Like,
that's so funny that it's a small world.
It's a very small world.
It's just in this world, it's very small.
Very.
Like, we always bring up, I asked I had Logic on, Logic Gillian, you remember him from Clubhouse, right?
Oh yeah.
So we had him on last week, and I asked him to name, I'm going to ask you at the end, so I'll give you a little head start, but I always ask people to name some artists they like, give them a shout out if there's anybody out there. And everybody he named was like someone we had on the show or somebody I was friends with. And it was like, it's just funny how all those worlds collide like that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you that I'm just all about relationships and people, not necessarily their art, but Ali Sabet, it was a very early on, and he's a close friend. I actually have him tattooed. So last January I was at the LA art show, and he was there, and that's kind of, we met in person, and he drew on my forearm and on my hand. And then I went and had a tattoo.
I can see that's him. That's amazing.
That
that's
weekend.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that.
And then with him was Gabe Weiss. And so Sabet and Gabe Weiss and a gentleman named Payman. All of those.
Payman, I know him from Club very well.
Yes, they were all from Clubhouse.
Awesome.
We have the same context for sure.
I know. And I bet we follow each other. I'm going to look it up.
I'm sure we do. I haven't been on Clubhouse in a while.
It's a shame. I like it better, actually. I like it better.
Did you really? Are you still over there?
I don't go on it, but like, because none of the people I know are on there anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I liked it better. I don't know. Like,
I did too. I will agree with you on that. I mean, I think the tech is definitely better than Twitter. But I also have like such a difficult short attention span that I haven't even put out any TikToks in a long time.
Yeah.
Actually
it's funny we didn't follow each other on there. All the times we must have crossed paths, but I just followed you.
I don't even think I have it on my phone anymore, to be honest.
Oh man.
Well, thanks for the follow. I don't even have it on my phone.
I say this a lot. Did you know Twitter offered to buy Clubhouse for $4 billion?
I mean, I heard something about that, but why did they turn that down?
Because they thought they had it. They thought they were the king. And then Twitter just was like, all right, we'll just go make
technology.
our own. Yeah. Twitter's like, well, that was just kind of a courtesy. We were just trying to help you out.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Like that wasn't really, we're no skin off our backs.
Right. All right, fine. Go a couple extra months, I guess. We'll build our own.
Right. Exactly. Oh my God.
We were trying to save ourselves 6 months, but
right. We're just gonna reverse engineer this and see ya.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the whole NFT ecosystem just left there.
I really believe so. And I think for me too, there was just a lot of arguing, and there was a lot of just, weird dramatic stuff on Clubhouse. And then they kept
It
adding
did get into
so
that,
many
and
different
people
features.
were getting blocked and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
It was,
There some weird
yeah,
stuff.
I graduated high school a real long time ago. So I didn't need to be, in high school again
Dealing
with a
with
bunch of
that,
adults
yeah.
that were like older than me as well. But no, I Clubhouse definitely changed my life. There was a lot of things that
Same.
came from that. And then moving to Twitter has been, just a continuation of that. So I don't dog on Clubhouse in the sense of like, it was great. It's a wonderful,
No, it was awesome,
and the tech is so good. The amount of compression that has to happen for, a audio app like that to even work, is huge. Look at Twitter's what a bajillion-dollar company, and it still has problems with Twitter, with Spaces rugging
all the time. Because
it's a lot of tech. It's very, very complicated to make an audio like app like that where we all don't sound, and it's still bad. Today I was on one, and the one guy's mic was so much louder than the other, and it's like for them to be able to manage that in the zeros and ones is very difficult. Well done them. Good job, developers.
Yeah. Pretty wild. I mean, the technology is incredible. Like, just think about how we talk to people from all over the world now. They sit there. The next step is we'll probably all I guess we'll be with goggles on or whatever. Like,
I'll never. I will go to my grave without goggles
on. Even Miss Technology, you're the futurist. No, without the goggles. But what if it's like a lens, a contact lens?
I believe that we live in a simulation. Like
we very well may know. Yeah,
there's a whole philosophy actually that we are already in the headset. I think Tom Bilyeu, or however you say his name, had a guy on that talked about that. We are just already there. It's at some point we're gonna realize, we're gonna know that we're in it. We can't really take it off. It's just it breaks my brain.
We could just be somebody else's video game. That's what people say,
right? Have you ever seen the glitch in the Matrix on Netflix? You've got to watch it. Go watch the glitch in the Matrix. It will blow your mind.
Oh my God.
Blow your mind.
Oh geez.
You're like, God damn it. I needed the 2 hours tonight to not do that.
No, I'm definitely not doing it tonight. I gotta be up at 6:45 tomorrow morning.
Damn.
Not doing it tonight. Oh yeah. Yeah, we're recording on February 13th in the evening. So hopefully it'll be a Valentine's Day episode.
Nice. What are you doing for your wife for Valentine's Day? Buying her an NFT?
No, not an NFT. Flowers, cards, and I'm gonna make a nice dinner.
I love that. Is it
crazy.
Just super nice in Florida right now?
It is. It was a little chilly today. It was probably in the low 70s, maybe.
Oh, boy, that's so chilly.
I know.
Today was fucking snowing in Idaho.
Yeah, it was chilly.
Yeah.
I thought about putting long pants on today. I thought about it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I had a hoodie and a coat and a hat. And tried not to slip around on the snowy streets, but
that's hilarious.
Happy Valentine's Day to your wife.
Yeah.
I'm thankfully single for the last couple of years. So
nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Nice to just work on yourself,
Yeah. Anything else you want to get into before we
I don't know.
I know we had a list here of things to talk about, but we got into so much cool conversation. You were right. You're like, that stuff is done.
Whatever. I mean, you can give me a list, or we can just go.
Well,
my superpower.
The things I put down. You said you didn't even watch the Super Bowl, so you did not see the Digi Diagaku.
I mean, I heard about it.
Right, you heard about it.
What a joke!
I know it was a joke. I tried to do it. It popped up. I ran up to it. I'm like, all these people are looking at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah,
and it goes to his Twitter. So I'm like, great.
Yeah, and then what happens the next day? We're all talking about it. And everyone's having conversations about it. And again,
it is a half an ETH NFT or whatever, whoever did get it, however, whatever bots got it,
I mean, the return on his investment, that would be an interesting, conversation to have with him. Like, you paid $7 million and then, you probably got this bought it, like, what an interesting conversation that is. However, I look at some of these things. I don't know if you remember, like a week ago or 2 weeks, I don't know when it was, a couple of weeks ago, where there was all this like personal drama being aired out on Twitter Spaces. Yep. And I remember being like, what the fuck is this? Like, I have some clients that are like very, very professional, very, sort of corporate-y, that I've told, go into Twitter Spaces and you'll definitely learn a lot, take it with a grain of salt. And these two investor guys that are like really thinking
They
about
went into that room.
They went into those rooms and they're texting me like, what the fuck is this? And so I got on Twitter Spaces the next day, just riled up. Like, you guys, these people think that this is a joke. And if you want to keep like pushing the narrative forward in this whole like Web3, whatever, you got to stop acting like children. And they're like, well, they were young. And I'm like, no. There were tons of people in those spaces that were my age or older or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if they're
eating it up,
whatever
eating
age.
up the drama.
It was so bad. So just like that stuff, like during the Super Bowl, and we're trying to push this, the cool part of all of this forward, yet everyone's like running up to the TV, and then all of a sudden it goes to the Twitter space. Like, it just set us back. For me, it set it back like a good 6 months to a year because of that fuckery. Like, it's just ridiculous. So what else is on your list?
Gabe's our next guest, so I'll let him know. No, he's not actually.
Gabe Weiss?
No, Gabe.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Tell him I said, what's up? You're an idiot. No.
So, do you know that like NFT Now guys, Matt Medved, that crew, they're releasing an NFT Now pass.
Love it.
I was lucky enough to be in there. Yeah, whatever they do is going to be cool because like
they what's know important about that is that those guys have grinded for 2 years now. Whenever they start, Matt is totally. I've hung out with him at a couple conferences, and he's just such a decent human. Yeah. But they have built something way before putting out this pass, or like whatever they're going to do is going to be incredible. And they've already established a reputation. They've already established their like place in the world, and being able to like provide all of this information to people. And then they're like, okay, now we're going to try this new thing. And it's a fantastic idea, but that's for me, it's like an already established audience, or establish your audience first. That is for me the only way to get into this. For a long time, the end of 2021, when everybody was trying to get into this, and they're like, oh, you have Solidity devs, can you we just want to spin up a project, we'll pay you after mint or whatever. And I'd be like, are you high? Like, we're not going to work for free. I don't get it. But so many devs, or they would go and like find Solidity
that was
contracts
for sure. Take 10% of the contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was just such a like, circus. So I think that goes to that same thing. Like, build the community first. If you don't have, these are all small businesses that people are spinning up. If you don't have startup costs, or a startup budget for the technology and to build some things, then you need to go back to the drawing board, because you can't do any, like, otherwise just get a Kickstarter going. Like, what's the point of any of this if you don't have startup funds? You can't use this as startup funds. And if you do want to do that, then just say that. Like, just say, hey, we're going to put this NFT thing out. I know none of you know us. That's the way I look at it in my mind, right? When people do this, they're like, hey, everybody, you don't know me, but I would like your money. And then I'm going to maybe build this cool thing. And for me as a professional and an investor and entrepreneur, I would never, ever put my money into something that hasn't shown me at least a MVP or something. And that's what these NFT PFP projects are. They're like, we're just going to spin this up because we see all these people making all this money.
Yep.
Like, it makes no sense to me, but that's the way humans, how they operate. What's next on the list?
What's next on the list? Well, actually, I have a funny Matt Medved story. We were talking about Matt.
Yeah.
So I actually met him in May of 2021 when we originally opened the NFT Catcher website. I went to this thing in Miami. It was during Blockchain Week called NFT Basel. It was at like this like old house in South Beach.
Yeah.
And he was there and like running around interviewing people. And this was May of 2021. And we spoke for a little while. And it was whatever. And then the next day he was interviewing Fuocious, another person I heard of Fuocious. And I was like, oh, this is, so I followed Matt from then. And then at VCon last year, Jenny was doing, she was on the stage moderating, and Sam Heisel, one of his partners, was on the panel.
Yep.
So
I
Matt
remember.
happened to be standing right next to me. And at the end of it, I bumped him. I go, what the heck is NFT now? Never heard of it. And he looks over and laughed. And I started to say, I'm Michael. And he said, I remember Michael Keene from NFT Catcher.
Yeah.
And I was like blown away.
Yep.
And he remembered me. And he remembered where we met at NFT Basel in Miami. Like,
he's one of the most decent OGs. Like,
yeah. I got respect for that for so long, because like the fact that he remembered that was I couldn't believe
I did that once. Obviously people do know me. I don't have a cartoon PFP. It is my face. That's actually a brand. Brooke Lacey is actually an LLC. So like there's reasons behind all of that. But so I know that people do recognize me, but he was one of those. Yeah. That I think it was in New York. I can't remember one of the places where I'm like, hey, Matt, I'm Brooke. And he's like, yeah, I know who you are, So I think we've all had that experience with Matt Medved. Like he's just a cool dude. Like he's such a cool guy. And I love what they're doing. The installation that they did in Miami was
Gateway.
The Gateway thing was so cool.
Yep.
I did the t-shirt from G Money. Still kind of mad that they didn't have, ladies shaped t-shirts. I gave him so much shit for that too. It's literally sitting on my coffee table, like the black box. Cause I'm like, what do I do with this?
Yeah, it's like
this is a really expensive t-shirt that I'm never going to wear. But yeah, that was a cool installation. I like what they've got. Yeah.
No, it's a bet the jockey thing with that Now Pass. And I got lucky. I happened to hop in their room on Saturday when they were announcing it, and they dropped 1,000 whitelist spots on pre-mint.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so a few of us snagged it. I put it in our Discord and like.
Did you? Yeah. So you have one for me then?
Yeah, I have a whitelist from
For me?
Oh, for you? No. Well, you had to sign up then for the first 1,000 people.
Just giving you shit.
Oh yeah. Let's see how many.
You're like, oh no, what?
Oh no, I'm buying the max.
I love that. Yeah. That's one of the things like that always gave me anxiety from the like degen culture is I gotta get a whitelist or I've got to, do this or that. And so I just had to like resolve with myself that that's just not me. Like I'm going to make my money a different way. Like I have different ways of using crypto. And I just can't be one of those people that's like up all night. I got
grinding in Discords. Yeah,
exactly.
GM.
I can't. I can't.
Same. I don't go like I'll get the ones like I just got lucky. I just happened to be there. And
sure.
Like, here's the
exactly.
link.
Yeah. You have to take those opportunities. So I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, but I'm not like going into the new Discords and trying to like
And I've gotten caught in that, like when the Utes thing came along, that's a whole nother story. I remember being like, all right, I'm going to try this. I got on like the wait list and then I just got wrecked. Like, wrecked. But you learn.
Live and learn.
Yep.
All right. What else do we got? Rug Radio and Cory Van Loo. They revealed today their PFP. Cory Van Loo. I mean, your favorite.
Farouk and I are friends. Like, I love those guys. His second in command, Loxley, is one of my best friends.
Okay.
So I'm very supportive of that. But again, I'm not here for the art. I think that a lot of people need to admit that when.
Well, it is. I think
it's great, but
it's not right. It doesn't seem like something that's going to have. It's not going to be like a 5 ETH PFP.
Right.
It's if you really love Cory Van Loo. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Exactly.
And hopefully people take it that way.
People have asked like, so on my wall and then like all over my house, all of the art that I have is all steampunk. So I'm obsessed with steampunk. Like these rocket ships and like robots that are, old school. If somebody did a steampunk NFT project, I would be the first one to buy it. If somebody's like, oh, this artist like Cory, is coming at this big announcement, and they announced it at Metaverse Miami, and I was like, cool. Also, I don't know who that is, and but cool, like you know what I mean? Like I like it, but that's the way it's been for me for a lot of different projects. Is like that's cool, just not for me. And then it's like, well, what was for me is if like I get a whitelist or I, buy into it, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to probably try to profit off of it so that I can go and do other things like build tech, So
Totally.
I think people need to talk about that more, where it's like, this was something that I could, see a gain on. I'm not going to use those, financial words, but it is what it is. I think it's awesome. Rug Radio is they've really done it right. I know Farouk is kind of a polarizing figure, but I think he's also taken a lot of this shit in stride. So another guy that, I wasn't quite sure about. He's also like 20 years younger than me. So, I had to like give him some grace there for a while, but I think he's really, come out of this. Yeah.
Yeah, he has. He's definitely taken a lot of shit all along the way. Everyone's trying to get at him, and he definitely,
for sure,
he fights back sometimes, but he does his thing.
I mean, I don't know if I would.
Nobody's perfect. Right,
exactly. I don't think I would have been as gracious. Like it would have spun me up if
he takes as much shit as anybody. Like sold a cool cat, and he gets fun, you know what I mean? Like for sure.
Yeah. This is a fickle world we live in.
I've been a Cory Van Loo fan for a while.
Oh, then amazing. Yeah, it's. Cool
I have a couple of them because I have had the free Rug Radio token, which turned into the rug, which turned into this. So that's been nice.
I always worried about that branding. It's like, hey guys, do you think using rug in your title is the best, use? Right. It just always like struck me, but it's worked for them. So
it's worked for them. Yeah, it's a funny kind of,
totally. Totally. It was always just kind of like, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah. How long is that?
Yeah. Are people going to take that the wrong way? Is somebody at CNN going to like report on that? Like, what is this rug?
One other news story that I found interesting, and I'm not into the project or anything like that, but Solana monkey business. Apparently they
never
are
heard of
second. It. Yeah, I heard of it in passing. I don't really know them. They're
the second deal with monkeys and bears and and apes,
and cats, and right.
What?
Yeah.
Like what about like alpacas? Can we do a project?
There was a friend of Andy and ours did he did llamas.
Oh, the llamas. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. What's
lazy lion? No.
No, that was the lazy lions. The llamas was
let's find an animal.
Why can't I think of it? Andy's probably gonna type it in here. There might not be an animal that hasn't been used at least once.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to search for. Cartoon animals. Maybe let's make it up. Like,
yeah, that's like, right here. We'll make one up, spin it up on Midjourney.
A liger, like,
yeah, there's probably not
like
ligers.
We'll mix one together. No, I think all of these that I'm looking at right now, maybe like a crow.
Okay,
like a lemur. Do they have lemurs yet?
I think there is a lemur.
There's probably a lemur. The first Solana project that we devved was sloths. That didn't go very well, so I'm not going to actually give the full name of the project. But, yeah, I always have to remind people that, like, as a technologist, as like the dev or the service provider,
you get hired to make their stuff.
It's a service. Yeah. Yep. Right. And so you know, everyone's like, oh, the dev's rugged. Well, but I think everybody can be, right, at fault. You just have to look into it. But I don't know why I'm looking at these cartoon animals.
It's all right. Well, the reason I brought up Solana Monkey Business is actually because they were purchased. And they were purchased by a marketplace called Hade Swap, which never heard of. And it's honestly not even that big a deal. Solana Monkey is the second largest floor of any 1K plus project on Solana. So it's a pretty sizable project. Yeah. But I bring it up only because, and we've talked about this before, that I think that there will be a consolidation and there will be projects that are resurrected. And we've seen it a couple times. Pudgy Penguins, probably most notably. A lot of people are calling for gutter cats to be sold, but that's kind of an interesting dynamic. That we will see down the road, the larger projects. I bet you go buy up a few projects. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, if you look at these for what they are, little businesses that are, that have branding, like Deadfellas does it
And
perfectly.
the community of people too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's audience.
Right.
I don't see any difference between a brand with an audience than it is with an NFT project and holders. It's just different words.
Actually, there's one little difference is your audience's NFTs, they have an investment in price going up.
Yeah.
So they're actually going to root a little harder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There is definitely those added, I don't know, incentives or whatever words we want to use. It's pretty potent how that works for people.
Sure. You get your free advertising, on
Yeah,
Twitter and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
A lot of free advertising goes on Twitter.
Yeah.
I've gotten caught in a couple of tweets like, you all should get paid for all this free advertising you're doing. Somebody needs to send you an NFT. But you do you, boo.
Nice. All right. So I think that was all of the news. That was a really interesting conversation. I love all the stuff you do. Yeah, no, that was super fun. And
appreciate
we do
you.
one more thing. Oh yeah, appreciate you too. It was really nice to have you on. I was glad right when I asked you, like, yeah, sure, I'd love to come on. I didn't know what you were gonna say, and because we never
I don't
actually
say yes to
spoken
everyone
before, other than just that. Oh, that's nice to hear.
Yeah,
cool. Did you know who I was when I reached out? Did you remember, or you did? Okay, cool.
Well, no, I mean it takes a minute. I had to go and look because you guys all have cartoons as your pictures,
Of course.
And I'm so bad with names. It's usually always like, then when I saw your face, I was like, of course I remember meeting you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because anybody, if I don't see their face or, see what like their social media, if you were to say Michael Keane, I'd be like, oh, no.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm like that with my own friends. Like, which one are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, that's what's up. This was an absolute pleasure. You're really impressive, all the different things that you're working on. I love that movie that you worked on, that movie theater idea, because I really think we're going to see lots of that, and that's cool. Agreed. That it was a success. I'm going to look into it a little more and check it out and stuff. But what I do now is we go over the NFT collection rankings by sales volume over the last 7 days.
Okay.
So just the top 10.
Okay.
I'm going to run it down. And Other Deed has been popping off. They did 15 million. Checks, the Jack Butcher project that's taken the world by storm, is number 2, 13 million. Bored Ape Yacht Club, 12.5. Pudgy Penguins has a lot of volume. Their floor didn't move very much, but they had a ton of volume at 11.7. Mutants at 11.3. So Yuga is 3 out of the top 5 once again. Doodles, Clone X, Sewer Pass. Clone X is down. Clone X is well under 5 ETH now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's going pretty low. Sewer Pass, Azuki, and So Rare staying in number 10 spot. So Rare's
just the usual suspects.
Yeah, it's the usual suspects. It's the usual suspects right here for sure.
We need to push that,
Kid
really
Called Beast is 11.
Is it?
Yeah.
Good for them. I'm proud of them.
Yeah. And
they definitely overcame their little security issue at the beginning. So there's Immutable. I mean, Gods Unchained is number 12 from Immutable X. That's the first non-ETH. Normally there's a Solana up there. There is not a Solana until Utes at 25 at 1.9 million. Really?
Yeah, that's surprising because normally there's at least some Solana up there. CryptoPunks is number 18. Not a ton of volume, only 17 transactions. So Bored Apes had 91 transactions. Punks had 17 in the last 7 days.
Do you guys believe that it's all on the up and up?
No, of course not. I mean, like, who knows how much of that money is legit and passing it back and forth and playing games? Of course not. Of course not.
No.
Yeah. I'll just take the data, whatever, what they
totally
provide. And,
totally. It's like the scammy speculation.
Totally.
That's going to be the name of my podcast.
Yeah.
Scammy speculation.
Scammy speculation. That's a good name. Like scammy speculation.
Talk about cybersecurity and shitty people.
Just put out a project. Put out a 10K. Scammy speculation.
Let's fucking go. It'll be on BTC Ordinals.
I know, right? Scammy speculation. That's an amazing name.
Okay, I'm going to don't put this out yet until I can buy the domain.
Scammy speculation.eth. Oh
By
my
Brooke
God.
Lacey. I'm literally at GoDaddy right now.
You are, see if they have it. They're probably, I'm sure it's available. Scammy speculation.
Yes.
.com?
.com.
Wow.
Wait, did I
you
spell
better-
it right? Wait. SCAMMY.
I would think so, yeah.
SP. You're like, I don't know. SCAMMY SPECULATION. Speculation. Oh boy.
That's a new, no one's, nothing comes up when you search Google for it or anything. So that's a good one.
It. I love
Yeah.
it.
Hi, this is Brooke
Okay, sir.
Lacey, and welcome to Scammy Speculation.
What does that even mean? It gets the
I know,
people
scammy
going.
speculation. It's like, geez, this is really seedy. It's not just speculation. It's not just scammy. It's scammy speculation.
Put those two things together
Yeah.
and you've got yourself a nice
Woo.
conversation. It's just going to be me just
Yeah.
talking to myself. It's going
I
to be like
love
my
it.
YouTube channel. Like, what scams can we talk about today?
Awesome. Well, let's do this again sometime.
I would be honored. It
Cool.
would be
We
awesome.
definitely will. We definitely will. And
Cool.
let me know when you have something else cool in the works and you're working on. I'd love to check it out. I love keeping
For
my
sure.
ear to the ground and love stuff like that. That's not your everyday project. That's a
Yeah.
real world. I think I really was interested in that. I think that's really cool.
Me too. And you know what? This was a good motivator. I will tell you that, you run the gamut of emotions in this little
Yeah.
world that we live in. And I'm like, what am I doing? I went back to school, but I have this cool skill that I can, so I've been kind of all over the place, but this has been motivating to be like, you know what? That was fucking cool last year with the movie
It was
theater.
really cool.
I need to
Yeah.
I need to keep going with that. And so, yeah, thank you for the motivation and kind of the affirmation that was actually a really cool thing. It's not
It's ahead of its time.
It's ahead of its time. Yep.
Yep. It 100% is. And you're on the cutting edge of that. It's ahead of its time. Cool.
Yay.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. It's another awesome episode of the NFT Catcher podcast. Feel free to put auto downloads on if you want to give us a review. It's all good. Jennifer is amazing at getting people to give us reviews, and I
Love
don't
that.
say too much like that. Yeah, she's the best. I can't wait till she comes back. We miss her, but we've been having fun, just kind of cranking along.
Well,
lucky-
I'll love to
yeah.
come back, when she's back too. So
We'll have
that'll
you
be
back
great.
for sure. We'll have
Okay,
you back
cool.
for sure. Awesome, Brooke. Thank you so much, everybody.
Oh
We'll
my
catch you
God.
on the next one.
Bye.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFT Catcher podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something new about the exciting world of NFTs. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you really love what you're hearing, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite platform. If you want to stay up to date with the latest news and insights from the NFT space, be sure to follow us on all the socials at NFT Catcher Pod. You can follow Jennifer at Jennifer_Pseudo and Michael at NFTicket. I'm your producer, Andy, and I'm at AJC254. Our theme song's by It's Just Los. We always appreciate your feedback and support, which helps us reach more people and bring you informative and engaging content about NFTs. We look forward to bringing you more great NFT content in future episodes. Thanks for listening. Peace.